People often say that they come to the yoga mat at home for their practice and they have no idea what to do. And so these are 5 poses that are my go-to poses. I've included Shavasana in this set of 5 poses because for me, it's a really important pose. It's kind of like what Mahatma Gandhi said, I have a lot to accomplish today, so I have to meditate 2 hours instead of 1. And so it is with Shavasana, just to have a little time for yourself to just settle in, to bring your awareness to your breath, and to really center yourself before the day begins. We'll start in downward facing dog. Find the right stance for your downward facing dog by first coming to plank, then lift your pelvis up. For many of us, our heels won't touch, but to start your practice in downward facing dog is such a fabulous way to bring your awareness to your limbs, the strength of your arms, the strength of your leg, the stretch the back side of the body. Just allows you to come to the practice. Downward facing dog has a lot of variations that you can do. You could bend one knee, straighten the opposite leg, cycling your legs, bending one knee, bending the opposite. That could be one variation. Of course, lifting one leg can be another variation, even bending at the knee to get a nice thigh stretch. And then, of course, follow that with the opposite leg. Or you can work with a nice thigh stretch by lifting your heels high and just pivoting so that your pelvis leans to one direction, back to center, and pivot so that you're stretching the opposite side. Come back to center. Now let's make our way to the top of the mat. Place your hands to the low back and rise up. Downward facing dog, number 1. Number 2 is Virabhadrasana 2. So step wide on your mat. Turn your right toes out. Bend your right knee. And just like downward facing dog, you can do several variations to this pose. We'll start with our arms extended, with the fingers spread in the strong stance of Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. With the back leg strong, just drop the front thigh just a wee bit. Root down to rise up out of the pose. Release your hands. Now turn your left toes out. Line up the front heel with the back arch. Inhale. Lift your arms up as you drop into the pose. With your gaze extended over your left hand, tone the muscles of your arms by spreading the fingers. With the strength of the back leg, drop yourself a little bit lower in the pose. And from the strength of the back leg, you can root down to rise up to come out of the pose. And just like downward facing dog, there's several variations. One is the goddess warrior pose. So as you bend the front knee, lift your arms up to come to warrior number 2, Virabhadrasana 2 again. This time put a little bit more weight to your back leg. Reach your front arm up. Just turn your palm so that you reach the palm back. And enjoy this nice length that you get to the side body. With the strength of the back leg, you can just drop into the front leg a little bit more. Inhale, come out of the pose. Let's come to the opposite side. So bend your knee. Start in Virabhadrasana 2. Reach back. And as you do, just slowly lift the front arm up. Turn your palm and drop in a little bit deeper in the pose. Inhale and rise up. One more variation that you might try is to bend your front knee from Virabhadrasana 2. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Draw the heads of the arm bones back, and with a nice openness in your throat, just bow forward toward your inner right knee. Keep your back leg strong. Draw your heart down a little bit closer to the earth. Inhale, lift yourself to come out of the pose and do the same thing, opposite side. You might want to thread and interlace your fingers the opposite way as you bend your knee. Draw your heart down toward the inner knee. Keep your back leg strong. And one option is you could lift your interlaced fingers up as you draw your heart down toward the inner ankle area. Root down, press your flesh down toward the mat to ease your way up. That's number 2, Virabhadrasana 2, with variations if you wish. Number 3 is to do lunges. So come to tabletop position. In tabletop position, step your right foot forward and just come to a lunge. And in this lunge, reach your arms up and spread your wings. And one variation could be a simple twist. You take your hand to the outer knee and twist. And release your hand down. Now, from here, another variation could be to get a nice thigh stretch by dropping your pelvis in to a deeper lunge. Take your hands above the knee again. And sometimes to just get a little bit more fluidity in the pelvis, some people kind of bob into the pose, very slow movements to just get a little bit more action, a little bit more opening in the pelvic area. And then you just settle in as the pelvis draws down toward the earth. You can get this feeling of freedom from the pelvis out through the crown of the head and out through the fingertips to come to a fuller version of the pose. Release your hands down. Come back to all fours position and step your left foot forward. Lift yourself up. And in this lunge pose, balance yourself. Take your arms up, spread your fingers. So you get this nice openness to the chest. And again, you can do some variations here. You can twist in your pose to find just a little bit more spaciousness, a little bit more elongation in some of those muscles that are supporting the spine. And now come back out of the twist to take your hands down to the mat and give yourself a little thigh stretch. Take your hands to the top of the knee. You can reach your arms up. Just take the hands wide apart. Reach your gaze up, hands back, gaze back. Release your hands down to the mat. Tuck your back toes under. And step your back foot forward. Place your hands to the low back and rise up. So that was number 3. We've done downward facing dog, Virabhadrasana 2 or warrior 2, and lunges. For number 4, let's lie down and come to a bridge pose. It's a wonderful way to open the upper chest. So as you come to lie down, bend your knees, plant your feet about hip distance apart, with your elbows pressing down and your fingers reaching up. Lift your pelvis up. Now the stretch we did to the quads in the lunge allows you to get a little bit more spaciousness in this bridge pose. And just like the other poses, there are variations that you can do in this. You can free one leg and lift it up and do some pulsing actions. And lift the opposite leg. Same thing, just allowing the legs to really strengthen in the action. Or you can simply stay in the pose. I like this variation of the arm position because it gives you just a little bit more fullness in the upper chest. You can release your pelvis down, release your arms down, and extend your legs for Savasana. And this is a very important pose. To just allow yourself these moments if you set up your day to require many accomplishments. It's just time to center yourself. To give yourself a sense of spaciousness and ease. So you can be present. So you can engage more fully. So that you have that keen awareness. You take your attention to your breath. You breathe freely and naturally. You honor yourself for giving yourself this time on the mat. To offer yourself that felt sense of freedom and spaciousness before moving on to your daily activities. Namaste.